Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on. David, thank you for being with me. How are you doing today?
Very good.
I'm glad to hear. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living, please.
Yeah, I do men's coaching.
Nice. And were you like walking on the street one day and you were like, let me do some man coaching? Or was there something else that brought you on that path?
I was looking for more meaning in my life about a year ago, and been an entrepreneur for about 25 years, and my businesses were all around sort of moving the needle forward in terms of growth and revenue, and I was looking to do something a little bit more rewarding.
It is, and it's not only rewarding, it's fulfilling as well.
Yeah, rewarding and fulfilling, I guess, sort of the same.
Because I'm trying to do something similar here, and I can definitely, at some point it's not really even about the money. You just kind of have it in you, like it's right and you're doing it. I don't even know how to explain it. It's not because of lack of a better words.
Yeah, I think as you get older, sometimes, and if you've got some of your financial life sorted out, and money's not as a driving force in your life, I think you tend to look for um, businesses or spending your time on things that bring you more fulfillment, like you said, or that's more rewarding, and helping others. In Eastern traditions, they call it living in your dharma, or living your purpose, or your calling. And I think most people, um, sadly, a lot of people don't get there. They stay in positions because they've got, a lot of the men I work with, they've got the financial golden handcuffs on, so to speak. There's a lot of fear sometimes in leaving something that you've been doing for a long time, and it can be challenging for a lot of men to make a move, especially if they have a lot of commitments such as kids and mortgages and private schools and houses and such. Um, so sadly, again, most people stay in things that are mainly for the financial rewards and not the fulfillment and the purpose, like we talked about.
I've noticed that too, and that kind of leads me to the third question, which is a little bit odd, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. And it's how did you know this was the way to go? Now, yeah, you kind of pointed it that this feeling of fulfillment. All right, yeah, but that aside, to be honest, because you've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, you've done this and that, you have a lot of experience. So truth be told, you could have been a lot of other things. And correct me when I'm wrong, of course. This is just my personal observation. But indeed, you could have done a lot of other things, yet you chose that one. Now, the reason I'm asking how you knew this was the way to go is because, and probably you've noticed that too, a lot of people, especially young people, are going to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there because they have that stigma that you should go over there to secure your future, which, to be honest, has been nonsense for about 2 decades now. And they just start something because it's the first thing they get, and then they move to the field that they try to work at, and it's clearly not for them. And it makes a lot of people miserable. And to be honest, at least I haven't noticed it, but I haven't noticed such cases. I think it's almost impossible to do something that isn't for you for about 10 hours a day and not be a miserable person. You gotta be miserable if you're doing something that isn't for you. So this is basically why I made the whole program. And that's why I'm asking the third question, like, how did you knew that this was the way to go? Were you
Yeah. So
influenced or something? Was it a gut feeling? What was it?
yeah, there's someone that well, there's a lot of different ways I could go with this, but yeah. So my in my 30s, when I was doing something that I was not particularly happy with towards the end, I think what happens is your body starts to send you messages and signals, and at least for me, I think a lot of men, if you're not doing something that's fulfilling and that you love and you enjoy, that's rewarding, your body starts to tell you, like there's a saying that the body doesn't lie. So for me, it was showing up as physical sensations of burnout, um, and I began searching for ways to heal myself from this burnout. And one of the things I discovered was learning how to check in with myself through breath work and meditation and mindfulness. And there's a saying in meditation: prayer is asking and meditation is receiving. So when I started to tap into some of these Eastern modalities, I started to get some of the answers in all areas of my life, not just my career. And as time went on, it became clearer and clearer. Even when I pivoted to doing something else from what I was doing in my 30s, about a year ago, I just started to get um, more and more friends and such were coming to me for some of their life challenges, and a lot of them, and then I mean, a lot of them started to suggest that, hey, what you have here is something very valuable and a lot of men need, and that's where it started. That's where I mean, between listening and spending a lot of time in silence, getting the answers, and then a lot of my friends that were struggling with divorce and death of a parent and um, other challenges, they came to me and started to say, "Hey, this is something you should be doing, helping other men."
I love when you mentioned the silence thing because, and I've either here or elsewhere, I don't remember now, but I've talked about it a couple of times, especially during COVID, right? Because that came out of nowhere and the world kind of stopped. Well, not, entirely, and different places had different policies, but we kind of hit the brake, right? So for me personally, that was a good time because I had the time in silence because, I live alone, single at the moment. So I had that time to reflect on myself, and reflecting on yourself, especially in silence, is pretty good because you're able to observe things that you don't normally do. And this is, of course, my personal observation. I'm just highlighting, but the world was way too fast, moving way too fast. And when that happened, I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, COVID was a terrible time, and we're seeing some of the repercussions of some of the decisions that were, to me, not very thought out, like locking down small businesses and locking down young people. There's something called the Great Barrington Declaration that said we should have carried on and everyone moved through life, and the people that had coexisting modalities or people that were older, we should have protected them, and the rest of the world should have moved on. And now, again, we're seeing a lot of businesses are on the brink of closing, especially in the hospitality area and the travel area.
Wait,
Um,
still in 2024?
yeah, I think in Canada right now, something like 1 out of 2 restaurants are very close to going, closing their doors.
Well, that's pretty huge number, like 50%. What about all the employees over there, everything?
Yeah, it's a big
Because
problem,
my
man.
my first job was actually as a bartender, and when you see a restaurant, that's definitely not the whole picture because there's a staff over there, there's suppliers that are involved
Yeah,
in the place. Rarely, very rarely, the person that owns the restaurant owns the place, like this is rented. So
yeah,
that
no, you're right.
closing impacts a lot of people.
Yeah, it trickles through a lot of different industries. Totally, 100%. I agree with you, Danny. And also, backing up to your question, I think one of the silver linings to COVID was, though, it did slow everything down, and it gave people an opportunity to reevaluate what they were doing with their lives. And in some cases, well, many people lost their job or were told to stay home, like we discussed. Um, and even though that decision to me was totally not the correct way to go, it's easy to look back and and hindsight's foresight or whatever. But for the most part, I think your question, just to not go too off on a tangent, that the silver lining to COVID was it gave younger people an opportunity to realize that some of the social conditioning that they were taught about getting a job and going to work and paying taxes and buying a house and all that, people started to rethink that whole paradigm that they've been raised in and schooled in. And I think um, now we're having a big, huge awakening in the world. I think where a lot of the old fashioned conditioning and the way governments want people to operate, people are saying, hey, you know what? No, maybe that's not for me anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely a lesson learned one way or another. So I do agree. And it was an interesting period. Truth be told, for me personally, it was a good thing because, you know, this podcast aside, I'm actually an accountant and into finance. So, and I have my own office here. So nothing really changed for me. And, but a lot of things have changed to a lot of people. But it's definitely a lesson to be learned. And, I'm always trying to learn from somebody else's mistakes. That's, I'm doing my best to do that. Because if I have to do all the mistakes everybody else did, I won't be in a good situation.
Yeah, no, definitely. One of the things that I advocate in my coaching business to push someone that's on the fence, or to help them make a decision to go ahead with the coaching, is if you can learn from someone else that's been down the road that you're going on, you can save yourself many years of learning from someone else's mistakes. I think they call it modeling.
In
So
many troubles.
you're modeling someone else's behavior in order to save yourself some of the mistakes they may have made. So yeah, for sure, if you can learn from others, that's part of what coaching is so invaluable.
Right on. And the last part of the talk is, and I'm sure you have a lot of those, so it kind of out of nowhere. But if you have one example, if you have one advice that you may give to the audience, which is mostly those that are in college or in university right now, they're looking for a job, they don't know exactly which way to go, what would that advice be?
I think you have to really do some serious soul searching and find out exactly what it is that makes you want to get up and get out of the bed in the morning, and what makes you want to say change the world through your livelihood or your career. I think a lot of people, again, we're conditioned to get a job and pay taxes and do things that necessarily may not be or what we should be doing with our lives. I mean, a lot of parents, they push their kids into medicine or law,
Yeah.
and even in finance or whatever, and in business. And in some cases, that's not really a great decision. You have to think about your personal happiness, and finding something that can fulfill you and um, bring your gifts to the world. I think there's an old saying is, our are the goal of our life should be to discover what our gift is and then share that with the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. And I'm actually a living example because, like, everybody from my mother's side are doctors. And you have to be absolutely insane to ask me for a medical advice because I'm definitely, it's not shameful to admit that you're not for something. I am not out. If I tried it, I definitely would have graduated it because I'm that kind of a person. I would have been the lousiest doctor ever. My name would have gone down in history just after Frankenstein. That I'm just not confident. I knew I was in high school. I was 15, maybe 16 years old when I knew exactly what I'm going to do for a living. And I've been doing it for a long time now, and I never really regret it, but I was lucky. Not to mention, I was in the minority because most, not all at all, but most of my friends were literally pushed by their parents, teachers, family members, and so on and so forth to be this, and that because it's profitable. And truth be told, if you do what you, and I really love it when you said discover what your talent is, because if you discover that, you're always gonna find a way to make some money. And it's not really even about the money, but money's good. So you're always going to find a way to support yourself, your family, and to sustain yourself. But it's I've seen people that are straight out miserable doctors, lawyers, bankers, everything. They're good with money, but they're miserable people. And that kind of misery, it travels to the family, the wife, the husband, children, everybody.
Yeah, some of this stuff can be multi-generational, and you're not doing, unless you're really present and passionate about what you're doing, you're not going to be really serving your customers or your or others very, very well. So I think it's again, what did Gandhi say? Be the change you want to see in the world. Everyone's trying to point fingers at the rest of the world, but the best thing we can do sometimes is, again, find out something that we're passionate about, discover our gift, and then share that with the rest of the world. And then you're right, that trickles down through many different facets of our life.
Right on. You're absolutely 100% right. And with that said, David, huge thanks for being with me. Really appreciate it. All the links, social media, everything gonna be in the description below. And all the best.
Yeah, thank you very much, Danny. I appreciate it. Just to be clear, when you asked me what I did, I do coaching. So most of the coaching I do is for men who are on the brink of burnouts, that are struggling with stress, anxiety, and burnout. That's my sort of my niche. It's a huge
It's a huge niche.
huge niche. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, but anyway, that's my sort of specialty, and that's what I'm doing right now.
You're like a little, not at the level of the funeral homes, but you're over there.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of them. And I'm trying to make it funny, but it's not.
No,
Really,
for
it
sure.
isn't. I've seen friends, good friends of mine. I even had him on the show. Incredibly intelligent man, remarkable, an absolute gentleman as well. And he graduated finance. He was in the finance field for a long time. The burnout was severe. That guy is a singing coach now, literally teaching people how to sing. I've known him for about 20 years. Never seen him that happy.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful story. There you go. That's a really neat way to finish. I mean, if you can find something that brings you happiness, that's the most important thing. And if there's a market for what you're doing, if you're happy and you're passionate about it, the universe or God or whoever you want to call it, that your higher power will have your back, and the universe will provide for you, and it's abundant. But that's the key, is finding something that you're passionate about, and happiness. And one of the good questions to ask yourself is, how may I serve? And that can lead you down the path as well.
That's interesting. That's pretty interesting. Sadly, well, I don't know how things are back there, but sadly here in Europe, the EU, that question isn't often asked.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, these are some of the changes coming, Danny. This is what COVID did. I mean, a lot of
Oh
darkness
yeah.
with it, but a lot of light came from it as well, because there's a huge awakening where people are like yourself. They're doing check-ins and had a lot of time to reflect on their lives, and now making pivots and changes to something that can serve themselves and others.
Yep. Because and I'm all in 100%, 1000% in to be for individualism. I love individualists. I believe I am one, but you can't do it on your own. There are other people, and you got to think about them every now and then. So definitely, it's a societal thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's more that can be achieved through teamwork than just with one person. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. And with that said, again, David, thanks for being with me. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be down there, and I wish you well, man.
Yeah, I wish you well. Thank you for your time, Danny. Have a wonderful day.
Likewise, sir. Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.